G'day everyone, it's Justin
and Scott.
Two dads again from BRRRRRM Australia, and we're coming to you today in a 2022 Kia Sportage SUV.
Yes.
Okay mate, I thought we'd get us back in a 5-seat SUV today because they're pretty much everyone's family car, aren't they? So.
Yeah, absolutely, huge sellers.
Now, the one today is the 5th generation Kia Sportage, and it arrived in Australia in late 2021. Did you know it's also the mechanical cousin to the Hyundai Tucson we drove recently? So it's available with the same engines, transmissions, drivetrain, depending on the spec level.
Yes.
And speaking of, there's in the Kia Sportage range, there's an entry-level model called the S, okay, which is front-wheel drive only, and it has a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, and it puts out about 115 kilowatts and 192 newton meters, and it's available in 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic. Probably we'd call that Avis spec, I guess.
It's really the basic intro. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Next up the ladder is the SX model, and like the S, it's available in front-wheel drive with the 2-litre 4-cylinder manual or automatic, or a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel in all-wheel drive and a 8-speed auto, and that puts out 137 kilowatts and 416 newton meters. And above that is a SX Plus, which is available with that 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, but in auto only. It's available in the 2-litre turbo diesel all-wheel drive, but it's also available in a all-wheel drive 1.6 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, which puts out 132 kilowatts and 265 newton meters through a 7-speed dual-clutch auto transmission. And finally, at the top of the tree, there's the GT line, which is only available in all-wheel drive with the 1.6 petrol turbo and 2-litre turbo diesel. And there'll be a written test after the review. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. That's why I suppose that's why we're here, isn't it? To try and clear that up for everyone.
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive range, isn't it? So yeah, there's 4 models essentially. So that's all right. But the one that we're in today, mate, is the middle range front-wheel drive SX petrol automatic. And it's got a list price of $37,000. Kia's doing it at drive away at $38,490. It's also got a combined fuel consumption of about 8.1 litres per 100 Ks, and it can tow about 1,650 kilos braked.
Yep.
Some of the main features of the SX model include the cloth seats, auto headlights and auto wipers. It's got dual zone climate control air conditioning, powered lumbar support for you, 18-inch alloys with 235/60/18 tyres, and a full-size spare. Okay,
yes,
so that's good.
Important one to know. Yep.
It also comes with the big 12.3-inch touchscreen, which has built-in nav and DAB. And it comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but you do need a cable to run it.
Okay. Yep.
But the funny thing is, it is included. But the funny thing is, like the basic Avis spec model has like an 8-inch touchscreen, but it's wireless Apple CarPlay.
Oh, okay. So it's a small little nuance between the models. So if CarPlay is important to you, maybe that's enough to tip you one way or the other. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, you've had the Sportage for a bit this week.
Yes.
Give us your driving impressions. What do you think?
So first impressions absolutely is steering's always important to me, and it's really direct. It's a really easy car to drive, and I think that's really important as a family-friendly car. The other thing is it's really quiet inside, so cabin's really nice. So it has quite a luxurious feel in terms of the fact it's not very noisy in here. And I think thirdly is it's the suspension's quite a little bit on the soft side, but that means the ride is really nice and smooth. And I think the combination between direct steering and a sort of softer suspension is a real winner for me for a family SUV car.
I just want to touch on something. Like the car is mechanically pretty much identical to the Hyundai Tucson that we drove recently.
Yes, that's right.
But I got to say that the way that they drive and the steering are chalk and cheese.
Yes.
The Sportage actually, you can tell, it's benefited from some Australian sort of input into the suspension, and the steering is a lot more direct than what the Tucson was. So well done, Kia, for spending the extra effort and actually tuning this car for Australian conditions, because it is very noticeable, isn't it?
Absolutely is noticeable. It's noticeable in all their cars where they do that, and we really notice it comparing other cars that don't have that. When you get on the sort of pretty terrible Australian roads, relative to some of them overseas, it really benefits from that that tuning just for our market.
And I got to say, like, in terms of performance, like I wasn't expecting too much out of this car, because it's a 2-litre 4-cylinder front-wheel drive car, but it gets along okay. I'm not gonna begrudge it. So.
No, I think it is what it is. But anyone trying the different models and stuff, it's up to what they think they're going to do it. If they're going to load it up all the time, full of a lot of people and stuff like that, you may say this is a little on the low side in terms of
you might
power.
want to look at some of the other options.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But in terms of it being fun to drive, I've got to say that it is, because of what they've done with the steering and the handling and the ride and everything like that. So yeah, I'd give it points, because it does make it feel more engaging to drive.
Yes. I think that's the right word, engaging. Yep.
Okay, mate. Family friendliness, practicality, safety. Mate, what was your opinion of the driving position?
I find it very comfortable to sit in here and to access all the dials. There's plenty going on the steering wheel that you don't have to look down and to change channels or turn the volume up, answer phone calls. All of that was it was a very comfortable car to drive and very ergonomic.
Yeah, the vision's pretty good, isn't it?
It is,
So,
yes.
yeah.
And the driving aids for reversing and everything made it very easy to park when I was at the shops this morning. So. Yep.
One little thing I noticed in the car, which I do like about it, it's just funny, because most cars I've driven lately, the headrests are pretty firm. This feels like a pillow. It's really quite nice. So, yeah.
I'll leave that one to you.
Okay. Mate, what's your opinion of the interior style, the ergonomics? What do you think?
I think it's all dominated by that big wraparound dash. So if you walked into the showroom and looked through the window of this car and said, is that interesting to me? I think that's going to really say to you, oh, I better have a look at that car.
Yeah, it's to me, it's like it's very latest BMW, like the iDrive 8 with the great big sort of screen in the BMWs. It screams that to me.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I think all the information on it's very clear. There's plenty of things you can change on it and adapt it. Obviously changes colour, the different modes you're in, if you're in sport or eco or just normal driving. I'm very impressed by the inside, basically dictated by that wraparound dash.
I've got a couple of little, probably little pet hates I've discovered in this car, and it's to do with the ergonomics and the dashboard. We had a chat about this before. Handbrake.
Yep.
Now, in normal cars, I find that the handbrake's either going to be in the middle of the dashboard there, like that, right?
Yep.
Even if it's an electric
electronic
one or something like that.
Yeah, or manual one. Yep.
The handbrake on this thing's way over on the driver's side, underneath the indicator stalk, isn't it? So
it is.
It's a bit out of the way. Like when I first jumped in, I couldn't find it, but you've got a different opinion.
I found it straight away, really. Yeah, I did probably look for it in the middle of the dash straight away, but the next bit was like, just there it is, and it's a nice big button. I found it quite easy.
So you're not going to begrudge it?
I thought it's fine. Yep.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. The other thing, what do you think about the dash instrumentation? Because I kind of think it's digital, but it's a bit dull. Like it's just like you've got the numerals there, and that's about it. Like there's no dial that goes around. There's no thing that shows up. What do you think?
I haven't actually changed it from just the digital display. I think there is an analog. No, there isn't.
I couldn't find one. So no.
Okay, rightio.
It just changes colour.
I'll have to believe you on that one. I thought it did the job really well, actually, admirably. So, but yeah, maybe if it,
I kind of think if you're going to go to the trouble of making it all, all singing, all dancing, why don't you make it a little bit more fun?
I'll give you that one.
Okay, all right. Important information for people. There you go. Okay, in terms of features and size for the spec level sort of thing, do you think this car is well equipped or not?
Well, I think the obvious thing when you're in this car is there's a lot of plugged up buttons, right, where we're missing features, right? And we know that. It's the second model up in the range, the S, and then this is the SX.
Is that designed to make you feel guilty you haven't bought the more expensive car, you reckon?
It does feel like it should have little things on there saying, you didn't get this, you didn't get this. It's a bit, I'm a bit jealous when I look at those and go, I wonder what that button does, I wonder what that button does. that's why they have the different models, no doubt, right? So, but it's clear there is, there's quite a step up to the SX Plus and further up. So, yeah, I think this is a little underspec for what I think most people are looking for in this range, but it's at a price point, right? So it's really what you can afford. I think you need to look at each model and see what you want. Yep.
What did you think of the this little feature here where you're turning it from like nav buttons and stuff like that to the air conditioning and that? Did you like that?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a strip in front of us here that sits underneath this nice big wraparound dash. And what it does is pretty contextual, right? You can flip between two different settings. So one's your normal like audio, nav, all that sort of stuff, and the other one is the all the climate control.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a bit of a subtle button to move it between the two, so a little bit confusing when you first drive the car, but obviously once you know it once, it's there forever, pretty easy. Yeah, I actually quite like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, mate. You sat in the back. What do you think?
Yeah, I did sit in the back of this car, and I think for a medium SUV, there's plenty of space. It's as much, or if not a little bit more than what I was expecting. Plenty of leg room. I had my car seat back right to my position, which is pretty much full way back, and I still had plenty of leg room and heaps of headroom. So yeah, there's a lot of space. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had three across in the back, it should be okay too, shouldn't it? So,
yeah, I think so. Yep. And to that point, probably going a bit further is the boot. Is just was huge, right?
Yeah,
so I
enormous,
did the family shop this morning, and it was just so much space. It was really, really good.
And it's a 60-40 split too, and you can actually drop it down through some handles in the back too, so that's really handy. So
yes, very good.
In terms of features for kids though, the SX model that we're in today, it's a little bit bare. I mean, it's got vents in the back, but there's no USB ports.
Yeah, I think that's a glaring omission for me. I mean, I think that's expected now. If we're buying a family SUV, there is going to be a whole lot of devices at the back there, whether we like it or not, that are going to want to be charged.
Yeah, longer trips.
At least one. It's probably got to be two, right? And it's probably a USB-C and a USB-A as well. So if you don't have that, I think it's a bit of a shortcoming.
Mate, in terms of safety, the car has 7 airbags, so includes one central airbag as well. Mm-hmm. It's got blind spot collision assist, rear cross traffic collision assist as well, lane follow assist, lane keep assist. There's a lot of assist in this car.
Yeah.
It's got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian cycle junction sort of pickup there. It's got intelligent speed limit assist as well, so it picks up speed limit signs for you.
I love.
It's good. So yeah, it's got a lot of good safety. It's also got front and rear parking sensors, which is available in the SX model and above. So if you get the Ava spec one, you don't get front parking sensors.
I think if you get the S model, and any car like this, especially when you're first getting used to it, it is pretty hard to judge the corners, right?
Yeah,
and so the parking sensors for me are really compulsory. Yeah, I think you're going to knock the corners if you don't have those.
Yeah.
Without trying too hard.
It's got a rear vision camera, as you said, rear view camera. But if you want the maximum safety in the car, you've got to go up to the GT line model, because that also gets like a surround view monitor with a 3D mode where you can use the dash to turn your car around vision and all that stuff there. Blind spot view monitor as well. That's in the dash where the camera picks up in the dashboard, and parking collision avoidance assist in reverse, so I guess it's going to brake you when you want to reverse or something like that.
At lower speeds. Yeah, that's good.
But in terms of what you were saying about parking and stuff like that, when you drive this car, to me it does kind of shrink around you. It doesn't feel like a big car, does it?
No, I found it very easy parking in the shopping centre today. It's a good one for families in that sense. Yep.
In terms of pricing, mate, the range for the Sportage starts off at $32,445 list price for a S manual, and it will go all the way up to $52,370 for a top of the range GT line diesel. So there's a fair whack of price that you can pay for one of these things too, isn't it? So.
And to be honest though, there's a fair bit of difference between all those models as they go up, right? A lot gets added at each level, and capability of the engine, all those sorts of things. So Yep, it is good to think about what your actual need is as a family. Are you going to be doing massive kilometres? Maybe diesel's good. Are you going to be doing off-road? Maybe all-wheel drive's good. Do you just want it to run around the city and do what it needs to do? Maybe one of the more base models is just perfect for what you need.
Yeah, that's right. Which leads me on to another question though. Is it good value for money? Like in terms of, what's the sweet spot in the range for one of these? What do you think? I mean, I have an opinion, but you go first.
I think maybe it's just an age we're getting to, and maybe some of the cars we get to drive, but I think this is a little bit under-spec to what I would probably expect most people want when they walk into the showroom. A few of the little features like the automatic closing, the rear tailgate, fantastic for families dropping kids off at school, grabbing the school bag,
when you're shopping
back,
like
all
that.
those sorts of things. I mean, I think we're seeing that pretty standard on a lot of cars. So that's not quite there, but then that comes in the SX Plus range. So that's the sort of thing that I'm starting to think, maybe that should be in this model. But if it's not, then you're really going to have to fork out to the next level. But they're functions that families love.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, because I think the SX Plus model has a lot of the features that I would want in the car. Like in terms of pricing, it's $41,500 list price, so it's a $4,500 difference if you have this drivetrain in the car, the petrol 2 litre. But you do get 19-inch wheels, you get a Harman Kardon sound system, you get leather, well, artificial cow, I suppose.
Yep.
You get front heated and a powered driver's seat as well. So heated seats, love my heated seats, so that's good.
Certainly do.
You mentioned the powered tailgate, and also too, like this is a little pet thing that you mentioned too, like you do get the smart key push button start. So you mentioned, tell us about your experience with keys this week.
Oh, it's probably just jumping in and out of so many different cars, but this one doesn't have the easy sensor where you just touch the handle and it opens the car. You do need to open it with the key, and you need to get into the car and actually use a physical key. There's no automatic start-stop button.
Yeah, what's that? We haven't
experienced that for quite a while, I say. So it just took a little bit of unlearning for a bit. But you're saying the SX Plus has that.
So I'd suggest that if you can afford it, go to the SX Plus.
Yes, so would I.
In terms of warranty, it's got Kia's 7-year unlimited K warranty, which is one of the best around. So that's pretty good.
Full thumbs up for that.
Yep. The servicing for the petrol one that we're in today is every 12 months or 15,000 Ks. It's every 10,000 Ks for the 1.6 turbo models. And I think the diesel does the 12-month 15,000 Ks as well. So servicing costs. I deep dove into this one, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So on the Kia website, for 7 years, it's $3,479 for the petrol car, right? Or $2,395 for 5 years. Now, I looked at the Hyundai website when we reviewed the Tucson as well. For 5 years, the Tucson is $1,595, so it's about $800 difference.
That's a significant chunk of change difference.
Yeah. I guess, do your homework, have a look, because these days things are starting to cost a lot more money and things like that. So value for money is something that people should be really looking out for. So
it's hard to understand and explain why there's that big difference, right?
Well, I was going to say it depends probably on what they're saying that they're doing for the service. Like, does it include like the cabin air filter or not, or something like that? So yeah, you've got to maybe check it out to see what's going to be better for you.
Oranges and oranges.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, mate. X Factor. Now, is this the kind of car? Does it have X Factor? You're going to look at your reflection when you're driving past, windows, or you're going to look back at it after you park the car? What do you think?
Yep. Okay. A bit of a broken record when it comes to SUV. It's hard to make an SUV look really good. This one though is particularly good, I think. I really like the sort of two-tone. It's got the black trim around the bottom, and it's a really nice metallic paint on this car, for instance, really makes it pop. So I do think this one's got a bit of X factor on the outside, and we'll come back to the dash again. The wraparound, I think that's got a bit of X factor when you get into the car as well. So yeah, there is a bit there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the front of the car actually is quite distinctive. Like you can definitely tell like a Kia Sportage when you're driving and there's one coming towards you or something like that. So that's great. The styling is actually quite nice. I reckon it's got X factor, this car. Anyway, just want to put a big thanks out to our friends at Kia Australia for the loan of the Sportage this week. I would probably have to say that out of all the sort of 5-seat SUVs we've driven so far this year, I'd rate this one the best so far.
Yeah, I think so.
I
Yes,
think
absolutely.
it's the suspension, the ride, the handling that does it for me. Like you said, you know, it's hard to make an SUV fun, but Kia's done something really good with this car. It is actually quite fun to drive. So, yeah.
I agree.
I'm
And that
happy with
direct
it.
steering, all that, it's fantastic. Yep.
Yeah. And just want to put a big thanks out to everyone in there for all the likes, the subscriptions, and everything else for watching us. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you soon, guys.